All right, let me get right to letting you know that there's gonna be some things in this video that may catch you off guard. For some of you, it may trigger some things, or may have your head shaking, no, or want to throw your shoe at the screen, all right? But listen, hear the whole video out and trust and believe that everything I'm about to tell you is to help give you clarity, to help clear up the confusion that many of you feel like you're dealing with when it comes to men, dating, and relationships. This is going to help you have more harmonious and successful experiences with men, because I'm going to show you how simple men can actually be, believe it or not, all right? And break down some of the things that men wish women knew. Now, if you go looking on the internet, there's all kinds of lists. So this list could have been 25 things long, right? But I narrowed it down to 9 that I really want to highlight today. So let's get to the first one. And the first thing that men wish women knew is that we aren't good with hints. All right. So I say it many times, and it's the reality that women are horrible flirters or horrible hint droppers. And the reason is because what you may feel like is a clear hint is not clear to the man. And a lot of times there's a lot of frustration in things not advancing or men not being aware in certain ways because you feel like you have conveyed through your clear hints, quote unquote, that this is what it is, right? But so many men are oblivious to that. The reality is that the way men are wired, typically, we are not as observant or as in tune with the details as women are. So the average woman, and again, doesn't mean all men, it doesn't mean all women, but the average woman is very good at picking up little things. You guys can catch whether it's a hint or just any little thing that might give you a sign or notice of something, right? You're catching it. And because your brain works that way, you expect us to receive it that same way. But for the men, we're just not paying attention to all the little things. Not even necessarily because we just don't care. We're just wired differently. I'm going to give you an example, and not even using women. Just the other day, I was working out with my homeboys, 2 of them. We've been working out for over a year now. And I said to one of them, I said, I never knew you had a tattoo there. The tattoo's on his arm, okay? I have worked out with this man for so long, I never realized he had a tattoo. Now imagine a man with a woman not catching on to something on her body or her hair changing or a new color. And automatically the woman assumes this man just doesn't care. When it's not even just about he doesn't care. Some men are not aware, all right? It's not to make an excuse. Do I think men should work on improving that area? Yes. But I think it would eliminate a lot of frustration for a woman if she understands and embraces he is not as good with the hints. So it is better. And let's go even further than just, let's say, hints while you're dating. Even in a relationship, when you think a man should pick up on certain things. I've had so many wives complain to me about, why should I have to tell my husband what he needs to do to turn me on, or what I appreciate or what I like? We've been together X amount of years. Why is he so stupid and doesn't know? And I'm like, one, because we can be that stupid. I mean, it's what it is. Not to be insulting, but it's just reality. And it's not that he doesn't care. If you just explain to him, and what women may not understand is in many situations, you may have done things that contradicted yourself to a point that now he's not sure what anything means anymore. Nothing is truly clear, because when he tried to guess this hint and now he was wrong, it makes him now second guess him trying to interpret something else. At the end of the day, what he just wants is clarity, transparency. That would make everything simpler. Again, I'm not saying that men should not learn to get more in tune with their partners. But if you want more harmony, and what men wish women knew, is just tell them. I've had so many men say to me, if my partner would just tell me what she needs, I'll give it to her. They don't lack the willingness or the desire, they lack the knowledge and understanding. And you being clear helps with that. But I want to bring it back real quick to dating. And when it comes to dropping hints for a guy that you're interested in, hoping that he will shoot his shot, so to speak, with you. Another reason why men, and I kind of just alluded to it, why men may not always pick up on the signals, on the hints, is because what women don't realize is there were times in his life where maybe he thought a woman was looking at him across the room, approach that woman only to get rejected, only to basically be told, you're delusional, I wasn't looking at you, okay? When men experience these types of misfires enough, they become much more cautious in interpreting your hint as interest. They become more hesitant because they don't want to be in that embarrassing position again, or they just think, nah, I'm tripping like last time. So they start to need more of a clear shot from you. And so let me say this before I move on to the next point. There's nothing wrong with you making the first move. You could consider this another point, so to speak, but I'm just lumping it in with this one. Men don't mind. A lot of men wish women knew they would it's okay to make the first move. It's okay. Notice I said first move. If you watch my videos enough, I don't ever tell you to chase no man. I don't tell you to pursue as far as an ongoing, continuous action of trying to get him. But I have said more than enough times, you should present your interest. That first move is you presenting your interest. You know, once upon a time, because a lot of times it's funny, people will talk about old-fashioned, go back to the old days of courting. Well, once upon a time, if a woman wanted to catch a man's attention, she walked by, dropped her handkerchief, right? She did little subtle things that back then were like clear signs. Oh yeah, she's trying to get at you. So there's never been anything wrong with making that first move. But yes, then you allow him, if he's interested, to run with that. So understand that you got to be more clear. Hints are just hard for men, all right? And it's okay when it comes to making that first move and presenting your interest to a man. All right, so now we're on to number 2 on this list. And the second thing men wish women knew is that we like to get compliments too. Yeah, that's right. We want to hear how good we look today, or how strong you think we are, how great you see us as. Whatever it is, men want to be complimented. And even I'm going to use the word praised, okay? Men like to be praised by the woman they love, by the woman they care about. Now, I can hear some of you women saying, oh, he's a grown man. Why I gotta praise him? Why I gotta stroke his ego? I hate how people have demonized the phrase stroke his ego. And the reason why I hate it is because the reality is that we all want that. We all want to receive that admiration from the person that we love. Now, I agree and I can acknowledge that some people take it to an unhealthy point, all right? And the constant need nonstop speaks to a deeper issue. But we should be sprinkling it in our relationship, in our dating, hell. And even if, going back to number 1, if you're making a first move, a great first move is a compliment. You know what I'm saying? That can catch a man's attention, because what you have to understand is men typically are not the ones getting the compliments. It's men complimenting women. So when a man receives it, it feels good. It's nice. And again, as human beings, we all desire that. So you want to be mindful of not forgetting the need to pour into a man in that way. Now, I've given this story before, but I'm going to give it again real quick. I had one client where guy was a good looking guy, 6'4", you know, got all kinds of attention and would get complimented all the time when he was out and about. But he said to me, man, I get compliments from everyone except from the one woman I want it from. And I think that it's very common for a lot of women to either get comfortable to a point where they forget that that's a necessity for their man, or it's a struggle with being vulnerable in that way. I think that a lot of people who may say, well, I'm just not big on giving compliments, or I'm not really affectionate. A lot of times, most of the time, if not all the time, it boils down to your struggle with being vulnerable. Your struggle with showing your softer side. Some of you have really equated being soft and sweet with getting played and manipulated, with getting taken advantage of. Even to the point that the man you're with, even your husband, you don't trust enough to let your guard down with. And to just be open like that, you know? So I think it's something that you want to practice. And not, if you do struggle with giving compliments, don't just practice in regards to when you're dating a man or in a relationship, or if you're already there, practice with people. Get comfortable giving people praise. Get comfortable telling, it could be another woman or whoever, oh, you look really nice today. Things like that. So that it's not so foreign to you when you do it to your man. It becomes a much more comfortable act, much more second nature. So understand that, yes, men want to be complimented too. They want to be praised too. There's nothing wrong with that. Of course, he should be doing the same for you. We're always about reciprocity here. All right. But don't neglect your part in that. All right. On to number 3. And this one, I like this one because I feel like this is the topic we need to discuss because I see it so much. And the third thing men wish women knew is that just because we want to hang with our boys doesn't mean we don't love you. All right. So this, of course, doesn't apply to every woman, but I've seen many situations where women take a man's desire to hang out with his friends personally. Like, oh, you want your friends more than me? Oh, and will insult the man, question his sexuality. I laugh, but I don't mean to laugh, okay? I've seen some really hurtful things said because the woman takes it as a slap to the face. And what I'm trying to convey here is the fact that you've got to understand, if he's had these guy friends for a long time, hanging out with them and hanging out with you is two different things. It's two different vibes, all right? And so wanting that vibe right now doesn't discredit the vibe he has with you. It's just that it's a different environment, and sometimes he wants to break free and be around men. Now, listen, do not get this twisted with the man who's always with his friends, is neglecting you in the process, doesn't understand boundaries, is hanging out all types of night consistently. Like, that's a problem. And I'm not telling you that men are expecting you to just have no issue with any of that. But there has to be a welcome balance, all right? Where he can have time with you, but he can still spend time away from you. And I'm going to get into a little bit later because it goes beyond just his homeboys, his friends, or friends that family that he may consider like his friends. He may have a brother that he's tight with, cousins that he's tight with, whatever. But the point is, like, it's not a reflection on you. And I'm going to say unless, because I want to be honest, unless it gets to a point where it is so constant, it now disregards time made with you. If he can seem to make time for them, but not for you, okay, we got a legit problem here. All right. But you got to be, again, be okay. And here's what's hitting my spirit. Many of you have to be honest with yourselves, because your concern with him hanging out with his boys isn't even really about you thinking he loves them more, doesn't love you. It's you being worried about his behavior with them when he's not with you. All right. And I don't want to dismiss that concern because I understand it. But I do think that, one, in situations where that man has not done anything to show you otherwise, then you have to be careful to project those types of negative perceptions onto him, maybe based on what you dealt with other guys. But let's keep it real. Some of y'all are like that because you're in a situation where maybe the guy has crossed the line before. Maybe there's some things that have made you feel uncomfortable. And so I do understand that that's going to make you antsy. That's going to make you less willing to allow him to have that space. But let me tell you this. There comes a point where if you continue to restrict a desire, and I'm talking about the desire to hang out with his friends and have some freedom, it's going to come back to haunt you in some way, shape, or form. It's not going to end up healthy. So the key cannot be to restrict it. The key is to either identify what needs to be done so that this man understands, and it's not even what we need to do as far as you and him. It's about him learning, okay, if you want this relationship with me to continue, and I'm going to give you that space, that freedom, you got to respect me when you're out there. You got to watch how you're behaving yourself. And if he can't, then that's just an answer of maybe this isn't going to work. If you're not okay and comfortable with it, trying to live this life of basically keeping him in a cage, keep him in a prison, because that gives you this false sense of security, is not healthy. It's not going to work in the long run. It's not sustainable. All right. So be mindful of that. And I'd rather you two work on maybe the core issues that may be contributing to the problem, but not thinking that either side, because if I'm talking to a man, I would say the same thing. Trying to control this woman because you're afraid she's going to do something, that's not healthy at all. Y'all have to be able to have a level of trust with each other. So bottom line, to wrap up this point, yes, hanging out with the friends is not, does not equate to loving you less. He just has a desire to have his friend time as well. All right, so let's keep this moving. Number 4 on this list of things men wish women knew about them is that we want commitment too. Now listen, I'm about to laugh, and I know some of y'all laughing, some of y'all shaking your head, some of you are like, that's some nonsense. Hear me out, okay? Hear me out. There's a reason why I had to put this on the list. So I'm not going to say, if I'm being real, like men are going around saying, man, I wish women knew we want commitment too. But I do think that the men who are desiring something real hate to have this idea that men don't want a relationship kind of being held against them, kind of being projected onto them. I also think that it's important for women to just know this reality, because it is a reality that men do want commitment too, because many women are carrying this negative perception and self-sabotaging, or allowing yourself to believe that because if you think that men don't want it, you will settle for men who won't give it. All right? And now you're finding yourselves in situations that you really don't want to be in, that you're not really happy with, but you think, well, I might as well accept it because ain't better out there. But there is. Now, I Googled and I found this article that mentioned this study. I had to mention it to y'all because it gives some like wild numbers here. So it says, and this article, just so I make sure I cite it correctly, was from The List, okay? And it says, USA Today backs up the notion that men want commitment based on a study from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which surveyed 12,000 men and women aged 15 to 44 about dating and relationships. What did the study find? That men are more likely than women to prefer marriage over lifelong singlehood. I have to repeat that. Men are more likely than women to prefer marriage over lifelong singlehood, and in many ways are as interested in serious family relationships as women. When asked if they believe that getting married is better than remaining single forever, 66% of men actually said yes, while only 51% of women agreed. Now, I know some of y'all are like, man, this is bull. Like, y'all don't want to believe it. This doesn't make any sense to what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you've been fed. But I'm here to back that study up and say it is true. It is absolutely true. One thing that strikes me when I read the number of 66 of men saying they'd rather be married than lifelong single versus women is that I feel like women think so poorly of men and relationships that they think that, well, I might as well just be single. As well as so many women have given up on finding a quality relationship that they project this, I just rather be single, even though deep inside, many of them really want a relationship as well. Whereas men who don't carry as much of a negative perception, and what's hitting my spirit again that I feel the need to say to give you more understanding why men wouldn't even have the same negative perception as women is because when you think about it, the argument could be made that there are plenty of women, I don't want to say the average women, but there are plenty of women who have had many men come at them, many situations, many relationships, all right? It is a lot easier for a woman to rack up boyfriends than it is for a man to rack up girlfriends. Therefore, his exposure to any BS, to any nonsense, is probably less than the woman. So whereas the man may have had one bad heartbreak, right, and a bunch of maybe a few casual situations, the woman may have had multiple heartbreaks, leading her to be much more disenfranchised, much more jaded with relationships than the men. So the men still believe that it's better on that side than to be single. I also want to add to that is because what many women fail to realize is the average, there are much more lonely single men than there are lonely single women. All right? Because as hard as that is for some of y'all to believe, it is easier for a woman to gain some man's affection or attention. I'm not saying it's a genuine one. I'm not saying it's leading to anything serious, but something, some kind of companionship where there are men who struggle to get any at all. All right. So for them, just having that relationship is better than remaining the way they are. Whereas a woman, some may say, okay, well, I still can get companionship. I just don't want to deal with the nonsense I believe comes with a relationship. Anyways, that was like a huge rant. Let me get back to the point. The point is that, yes, there are tons of men who want commitment. There are tons of men who want relationships. I do think that you have to understand that the average man that you come across may not be as vocal about that, all right? And may not be as vocal with you because, again, if the man that you meet tomorrow is not serious about you, then he's not going to say to you that he wants a relationship. He doesn't want you to get any ideas. But this is why you'll see situations where a man will tell one woman, I don't want anything serious, I don't want marriage. Finally, they break up, and 6 months later, he's married to somebody else. It's not that he had never wanted it, it's just that it wasn't a match. And I don't say that to you for you to take it personal and be discouraged. I say it to you so that you understand. Don't get caught up in the illusion that they don't want it. They do. They do. So now it's about, okay, if you want it too, you can receive the person who wants it with you. That's what it boils down to. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. Everyone wants to feel desired by the person they have genuine interest in. I think pretty much all of you, if not all of you, can agree with that statement, okay? And I think that as women, you really understand, or that really resonates with you.